The torches moved, like fireflies, across the green. The villagers gathered step by step, voices low, faces tense. Miss Marple stood near the path, her shawl wrapped close, her eyes alert. She watched. Oswald Crewe adjusted his watch again. He tapped the glass. Fussy. Precise. He muttered about time, always. About time. Ruth Elby worked behind her stall, copper pans steaming. She dipped apples, pulled them out quick. Sugar hardened fast, her smile forced, her eyes restless, again and again. She glanced toward Crewe, not friendly glances, uneasy ones. Miles Ferrier crouched near boxes. He stacked tubes, Roman candles, Catherine wheels. He placed small sandbags. He measured distances, his lips pressed tight. He repeated sharp, "Licensed. Safe. 3 years. No accidents." Not proud words, defensive ones. Ned Ashcroft checked ropes, every knot double-checked, fast, precise, a sailor's hand. He called across to Crewe. "Wind shifting. Might delay lighting." Crewe shook his head. No delay. 7:30 sharp. Mabel Finch held tins in her lap, counting coins, every tin neat, her writing bold, across each label. She did not look up, not once. Children pulled smaller guys across the ground, patchwork coats, odd hats. They shouted for pennies. They laughed. But their eyes fixed on the bigger guys stacked high above the bonfire, pride in their faces. Lady Bantry lifted her camera. Flash popped. "Parish album," she explained. She smiled, too wide. Clicked again. Her hands shook, just a little. The vicar walked slow, his wife at his side. They greeted Marple. "Fine night," she said. Her smile faded quick. She whispered low, "These mists are treacherous." Miss Marple nodded once, her stick pressed firm to the ground. Her gaze swept again. She did not smile. She studied. Crewe's watch clicked open. 7:20, he said, loud. 10 minutes only. Not late, not early. His voice, thin, sharp. It carried across the crowd. Ruth flinched at the sound. Her hand jerked. Hot sugar splashed. She hissed under her breath. She wiped her knuckle. She forced a laugh. "Fresh apples. Warm apples." But her eyes darted back to Crewe. Miles saw her. His jaw tightened. He muttered low. No words caught. Only tone. Resentful. Inspector Slack passed through the crowd, his cap low. He nodded to the vicar. Peaceful enough, for once. He forced a grin, but his eyes kept sweeping. Dr. Haydock stood near the torches, medical bag at his side. "Prepared," he said. "Accidents always happen." Miss Marple heard each word. She caught each glance. Crewe. Nervous. Ruth. Restless. Miles. Resentful. Ned. Firm. Mabel. Silent. Lady Bantry. Eager. Each face marked. Each roll set. The crowd pressed closer. Torches raised. The guy loomed tall. Painted smile fixed. Miss Marple shifted her stance. She breathed in. Wood smoke, caramel sugar, and something else. Not right. She caught a scent. Sweet. But wrong. Crewe tapped his watch again. The snap echoed sharp. Faces turned. Annoyed. 7:30, he said. Not later, not earlier. Mabel Finch frowned. Program sheets in her hand. "They already say 7:30. She tapped the paper. Clear black ink. Crewe waved it away. "Printed wrong, I told you. Must delay fireworks. 10 minutes only. Time must be exact." Ned Ashcroft folded his arms, his voice steady. 10 minutes will not change safety. The ropes are set. Wind checked. We go as planned. Crewe shook his head. "You do not manage the clock, counselor." I do his words sharp. Too sharp. For the setting. Mabel's lips pressed thin. "I pride myself on accuracy. Do not say my work is careless." Her eyes cold. Her paper firm. Ned cut in again. "Oswald, the people wait. Keep the program. No last-minute chaos." Crewe pulled out his watch again, clicked it shut. 7:24. He snapped it closed hard. Miss Marple stood nearby. her eyes on each face. The treasurer stiff, the stationer insulted, the sailor calm, but firm. And Ruth. Yes, Ruth. Behind her stall, Ruth's hand trembled. She stirred sugar, too quick. She dipped another apple. Her eyes kept darting, always back to Crew. Not once, not twice, many times. Miss Marple noticed. Her stick tapped once on the ground, her lips still. But her mind turned. Why such glances? Lady Bantry noticed, too. Her camera lifted. She adjusted lens, not for a picture, for a closer look. She lowered it slow, her brow furrowed. Crew moved closer to Ruth's stall. The crowd noise covered his steps. He leaned down, his words too low to catch. But the action? Clear. His hand slid from his coat, a folded paper. He passed it quick, not held high, not seen by most, but not hidden well enough. Ruth froze. Her eyes widened, her hand jerked. The paper slipped into her palm. She shoved it fast into her apron, her cheeks pale, her lips tight. Lady Bantry gasped, soft. Only Marple heard it. Marple's eyes narrowed. Her mind recorded the moment. Not chance, not play. Something serious? Passed hands. Mabel still argued with Ned. Crew cut her off again. 7:35. That is the time. Write it down. His watch tapped again, loud, sharp. A man who measured minutes. As if they were gold, Ned muttered. Fussy fool. He turned away, but Ruth did not turn. Her head bent low, her hand pressed to apron pocket. Marple's gaze stayed fixed. She had seen enough to know. Secrets moved when no one looked. Secrets wrapped in plain paper. Secrets that carried weight. The crowd cheered as torches lifted. But Marple's thoughts stayed elsewhere. Not on the fire, not on the guy, on Ruth and the paper, now hidden in her apron. Ruth shoved it deeper. Her hands shook. The crowd gasped. A blast ripped through the air. Light shot high. A firework, gone off too soon. Children screamed. Mothers pulled them back. Torches wavered. People stumbled. Inspector Slack barked. Hold steady. Keep back. His arms out wide. But the noise grew. The field shifted in panic. Miles Ferrier pushed forward. His voice hard. Not dangerous. Misfire only. No harm. He waved his hand. Stay calm. Stay calm. No one looked calm. Men shouted. Women clutched children. Coins spilled from Mabel's tins. The ground scattered with pennies. Ruth Elby's voice cut sharp. This is your fault, Ferrier. Her hand pointed at him. Her pan rattled on the stall. You set them wrong. You risk lives. Miles's face turned red. He jabbed a finger back. My line is perfect. Licensed. Tested. 3 years safe. He stepped closer. You want to sell apples? Then sell apples. Leave fireworks to me. The words stung. The villagers turned. Curious. The fight pulled their eyes. Lady Bantry lowered her camera. She whispered to Marple. They hate each other. Can you see it? Marple nodded once, her eyes steady. She noted every word. Ruth slammed another apple into sugar. Her hands shook. You think you're the only one who matters, she hissed. Your fireworks, your show, always your pride. Miles leaned closer, teeth clenched. At least I don't cheat tins. At least I work honest. Ruth froze. Her lips parted. Her eyes flicked away. She forced a laugh. You know nothing. Crew moved in then, his watch in hand. He tapped it loud. Order. We lose order. Slack growled. Both of you, enough. No quarrels here. But the tension stayed. The villagers murmured. The rivalry no longer hidden. It stood out, clear. Mabel crouched, gathering coins. Her fingers quick, her lips tight. She muttered about ruined totals. Ned Ashcroft bent low, checked a rope. His call calm. All secure. No danger here. He stood, dusting his hands. Crew paced away from the bonfire, his step brisk. He muttered again about the time. 7:29, he said. 7:30 must not fail. Marple's eyes followed him. She watched his shoulders. She watched Ruth's eyes track him. She watched Miles glare at Ruth. The field stilled again. Torches lifted. People whispered low. The firework misfire fading in memory. But its mark remained. Suspicion. Fear. Division. Slack walked past Marple. Nothing, he muttered. Just noise. Always noise. But his hand stayed near his coat, as if waiting. Lady Bantry sighed. Nearly spoiled the night, she whispered. Her hands clutched her camera close. She glanced toward Ruth again, then at Miles. She shook her head. So much bitterness, so little joy. Marple said nothing. Her gaze swept the field again. The villagers returned to place. The guy loomed tall. Crew shifted further off. His watch snapped. Again. His face pale. His lips moved. Silent. Marple tightened her shawl. Her stick pressed firm. To ground. She felt it in her chest. Tension building. More than one spark in the air. Then came the scream. Timothy pointed, hands shaking. His face white. His voice cracked. There, there! The crowd surged forward. Torches shook. Feet stumbled. Voices rose. Inspector Slack shouted, "Back! All of you! Step back!" His arms wide. His tone firm. The circle widened. Gasps spread. Whispers cut sharp. At the base of the bonfire lay Crew. His spectacles twisted. One lens cracked. A dark stain beneath his head, unmoving. Lady Bantry lowered her camera. Her hands trembled. Her eyes fixed. She whispered, "Is he?" Dr. Haydock pushed through. His bag clutched tight. He knelt, fast, fingers to neck, hands to chest. He waited. He looked up, his face grave. "Gone," he said. Head struck. No breath, no pulse. The crowd hushed. A woman cried out. Children clung to mothers. The vicar bowed his head. Slack stepped closer. "When? Did anyone see?" His eyes swept. Ned Ashcroft answered first. "I saw him near the ropes, just minutes ago. Said he was checking tension." Mabel checked her watch. 7:25. I marked it. I was finishing the tins. Slack nodded, curt. "Noted. Now stand clear." Marple edged nearer, her stick steady, her eyes on the body. Crew lay twisted, one arm crooked beneath him, the other flat. But the pose was wrong, too neat, too still. Her gaze fixed on his sleeve. Beneath the left arm, the cloth looked dry. Strange. The ground wet with dew, every coat damp, every boot stained. Yet this patch, untouched, protected. Her hand brushed the fabric. Dry indeed, not natural, not right. Her fingers moved lower. She touched the cuff. Something clung, grit, fine, pale. She rubbed it soft, between her fingers. Not soil, not grass. Different, too clean, too fine. Miles Ferrier shifted at the edge. His eyes darted. He swallowed hard. Slack turned his way. Did he come near your line?" Miles shook his head quick. "Number he stayed away, always afraid of fireworks. Wouldn't step close." Marple's mind turned. If not near fireworks, then how this sand? Why dry cloth, when all else wet? The pieces pulled at her, not fitting, not yet. The children stared wide-eyed. Timothy whispered again. He was standing, then he wasn't. His sister clutched his arm, both pale, both silent after. The crowd muttered, "Accident, slip, tragic." Slack raised his hand. "No more talk, body to be moved." Crowd dismissed. But Marple stayed still. Her hand rubbed the grains, slow, her thoughts deeper than words. An accident, yes, but accidents, rarely so tidy. Marple rubbed the sand between her fingers, not grass, not soil. The mist clung low, voices moved soft, through it. Whispers spread. Accident, he slipped, nothing more. Some nodded, some shook heads, no one certain. Ruth stood by her stall, her shawl drawn close, her face pale. She spoke loud enough. Oswald was careful, always careful. He checked everything twice. He would not fall. A villager muttered back. He tripped, that is all. Ruth shook her head. Number. He never rushed. He never stumbled. Her tone sharp, her eyes wet. Miles Ferrier carried boxes. He dropped one, too loud. The thud turned heads. He snapped quick. Don't look at me. Not my line. My fireworks are safe. Everyone knows my record. Ruth turned on him. Her words fast. Safe? You call that safe? A firework burst early. Children screamed. What if it had struck him? Miles bristled. He set the box down, hard. His jaw clenched. Misfire, nothing more, harmless. He was nowhere near my tubes. Ruth's cheeks flushed. Her hands shook as she wiped her stole. You defend yourself, too quick, always ready with excuses. Miles stepped closer, his voice low but fierce. You watch your words. I guard my work. I guard my name. Slack moved between them. Enough, both of you. The man is dead. Show respect. The villagers looked on. Some frowned at Ruth. Some frowned at Miles. The air held weight. Lady Bantry whispered to Marple. Do you hear them? It cuts deep. They despise each other. Marple gave no reply. Her eyes rested on Ruth's hands, then on Miles's shoulders. Her mind filed every word. Bitterness had shape. Bitterness had roots. Ned Ashcroft tugged a rope. He called out, steady. Knots hold, all steady. His tone calm. But few listened. Mabel gathered her tins again, her lips thin, her eyes narrow. Coins rattled soft. She muttered about lost count. She did not raise her head. The vicar sighed. He spoke to his wife. Sad night. Dark business. Let it end soon. Ruth dipped another apple. The sugar bubbled. She pulled the stick free. Her hand slipped. The hot syrup touched skin. She gasped, sharp. Her hand reddened quick. She clutched it close. The pan rim gleamed, heavy in the torchlight. Marple's eyes did not move. She saw the pain. She saw the weight of the iron. She saw more than the crowd saw. The villagers turned away. Some whispered prayers. Some shook heads. But Marple stayed fixed, her thoughts dark, her suspicions growing. She knew tempers flare under grief, but she also knew tempers sometimes hide guilt, and bitterness, once sharpened, cut deeper than any blade. Ruth's hand burned red. The pan rim gleamed, heavy. Ashes still smoked. The field lay quiet, villagers gone, only prints in soil. Miss Marple walked slow, her stick pressed soft, her eyes sharp. She leaned close to the blackened stack. Ropes still hung loose, half burned, half frayed, one end charred, one strand darker. She bent lower. A glint caught her eye, red streak, dusty, powder-like. She pinched it. It clung to her glove, not soil, not ash. Something harsher. A step sounded. She turned. Miles Ferrier approached, his sleeves rolled, his face drawn. He spoke, quick. You should not be here. Too dangerous. The stack not cooled yet. Marple held the strand, her voice plain. This cord burned different. Look. Miles frowned. He crouched. He touched the rope. His finger rubbed the red dust. He inhaled, sharp. That is strontium. His tone dropped low. A compound for color, red fire in displays, but it should never be here, not in binding ropes. Marple studied him. You used it last night? He nodded once. Yes, in a few shells, for effect, but never near the stack, never mixed with ropes. It has no place here. Her eyes narrowed. Yet it rests here. Miles shifted. He wiped his hands on his trousers. I keep my stores locked, always locked. Only I hold the key. She said nothing. She watched his face, lines deep, eyes restless, his breath quick. Footsteps again. Ruth stepped from behind stalls, her apron still tied, her face pale. She had heard, her voice cut. Strontium, in ropes? You expect us to believe you did not put it there?" Miles spun on her. His voice rose. "Careful, woman. I said my stores are locked. If it came here, someone stole it. Someone with reason to frame me." Ruth's lips trembled. Her hands pressed her apron. "You always with excuses, always blaming shadows, but the dust shows your work." Marple watched them both, their bitterness raw, their eyes sharp, her thoughts turned dark. Lady Bantry arrived, her shawl wrapped. She whispered close to Marple. "They quarrel still, even after death. Is that grief or guilt?" Marple did not answer. She touched the strand again. It crumbled between her fingers. The red flecks held fast. They stained her skin, faint. Miles looked down. His voice cracked. Softer now. "It should not be here. Believe me, it should not." Ruth's eyes wet. She muttered low. Or maybe it should. Maybe he knew. Silence hung. Marple folded the strand into her handkerchief. She spoke calm, almost to herself. "Chemicals do not move alone. Someone placed it." She lifted her eyes, her gaze fixed on Ruth, then on Miles. Neither flinched, neither turned. Both carried weight. The air heavy, the fire long gone. Yet the smoke of suspicion grew thicker. Marple held the strand up. The red dust clung stubbornly. One paper said 7:30. Another said 7:45. Miss Marple held both. Mabel's printed program, neat. Ned's chalkboard, smeared. The times did not match. She asked quiet. "Mabel, who set the program?" Mabel raised her chin. "Crew did. He checked the printer himself. He wanted it sharp. 7:30 exact." Marple nodded, slow. She turned to Ned. He scratched his head. "Crew told me different. He came to the shed, said delay it. 15 minutes. He told me mark it down. 7:45. Marple folded the sheets, her voice plain. "So he ordered 2 sets, one for the board, one for the crowd." Ned frowned. "Looks that way." He said nothing more, just that I must change it. Mabel stiffened. "He gave no reason, not even to you?" Ned shook his head. "None. Just pressed me." He seemed restless, kept looking back at his watch. Lady Bantry, listening, whispered, "A gap? Why? Who benefits?" Marple's eyes narrowed. A gap means a pause. A pause means chance. Chance means motive. She asked again. "Mabel, who else saw the program?" Mabel thought. "Ruth. She came early. Wanted to be sure her stall matched the breaks. Crew showed her." She laughed. Said she could sell more toffee with 2 pauses. Marple looked at Ned. "And who saw the board?" Ned sighed. "Almost everyone. It hangs near the gate. Miles asked about it. He grumbled about his fireworks. He said delay spoils rhythm." Crew brushed him off. The pieces settled. 2 lists, 2 sets of eyes, 2 quarrels. Marple tapped the papers. One man creates a gap. He does not explain. He makes sure the gap is seen by some. Not all. That gap is 15 minutes. Ned muttered. Enough to fetch something or hide something. Mabel's eyes widened. Or meet someone. Marple did not reply. She traced her finger down the times, every event straight, except one. The bonfire lighting. She asked quiet. "Who lit it?" "In the end," Ned answered quick. "Crew was meant to, but he stepped aside. He gave the torch to Timothy, said he must check the accounts once more. Then he walked off." Marple paused. Her thoughts moved sharp. He left the torch. He left the crowd. He left a hole in time. Lady Bantry's voice trembled. "He left for death." Marple's eyes stayed hard. Number he left for purpose. Someone met him. Someone used that pause. Her hands folded the papers once more. 2 timetables, 2 truths, 1 lie. She whispered low. 15 minutes, enough for murder." The flames roared. Children shouted near the rope. One cried loud, "That's not our guy." Heads turned. Another child stamped. "It had a bowler hat. And a coat with a patch. This one doesn't. Mabel hushed them. Stop fussing. It burns the same. But the children would not stop. Timothy leaned close to Marple. They're right. I helped them drag it in. It had that old patched coat, ragged at the sleeve. Lady Bantry frowned. She whispered low. I saw it too. Brown patch, bowler hat, tilted, clear as day. Marple's eyes fixed on the fire. The figure atop the pile had changed. Hat gone, coat gone. The blaze swallowed proof. She asked firm. Lady Bantry, you have your camera? Lady Bantry nodded. Yes, I snapped them. Children wanted a picture. The thing looked absurd. A man stuffed with straw in that patched coat. He pulled the small folder from her bag. Photos inside. She passed one to Marple. Marple studied the print. The bowler hat, sharp. The coat, rough. The patch, plain. She lifted her eyes to the burning pile. No patch now, no hat. She asked slow. When did the change occur? Timothy answered quick. After dusk. I saw Miles near the stack. He had 2 lads with him. He said ropes needed fixing. That was just before the fireworks accident. Lady Bantry muttered, and Crewe walked off then. That was when he vanished. Marple pressed the photo flat. What was hidden in the hat, or in the coat? Why remove it? No one replied. The crowd kept staring at the flames. Children whispered behind hands. It's not ours. Someone took it. Someone swapped it. Ruth stood stiff by her stall. Her eyes darted to the fire. She clutched her apron. She said, sharp. Children imagine. Don't spread tales. Miles shouted back. Blame me again, eh? I never touched the stupid doll. I had my hands on the fireworks. That was my job. Ruth glared. You were near the stack. We all saw. You think no one watches. Slack raised his voice. Enough, both of you. Keep still. Let us handle it. But the quarrel marked the air, bitter, thin, unhidden. Marple folded the photo, slipped it back, her voice low. The guy was altered. The question is simple. Was it disguise, or was it concealment? Lady Bantry's hands trembled. You think something was inside it? Something Crewe carried? Marple gave no answer. Her eyes stayed on the blaze. The crowd cheered the sparks, but she heard only the crack of change. The bowler hat was gone. The patched coat gone. The truth burned with it. She whispered cold. The bowler hat was gone. But why? Dr. Haydock frowned. He bent lower. His lamp glowed against the still face. He spoke quiet. This mark. At first I thought wood, from the stack. But no. Too clean, too sharp. Slack shifted. You said the fall killed him. Haydock shook his head. Not certain now. The bruise tells more. The skin is crushed inward, not torn. The curve is narrow, not broad, like timber. Marple leaned close. Her eyes traced the wound. She whispered, Not wood. Haydock nodded. Not wood, metal. The rim of something round, iron, struck hard. Lady Bantry gasped. Then someone beat him. Haydock raised a hand. Not beaten many times. One strike, clean, heavy. Enough to fell him fast. After that he could not rise. Ned muttered. What object fits that? Haydock's eyes wandered. Then he said it plain. A pan, a great iron pan, like one used at the stalls. All turned toward Ruth. Her hands gripped her apron tight. She stared back. Jaw stiff. I sell toffee. Yes, I use a pan, but I was never near him. Miles barked a laugh. Never near him? You were close all night, always fussing about money. Ruth snapped. And you? You shouted at him. Everyone heard. Slack cut in. Enough. One thing at a time. Haydock tapped the wound edge with his finger. The size matters. Large rim, not small, and the curve exact. See here. He pressed the rim of his tin flask against the bruise. It did not fit. Too small. He glanced at Ruth. Your pan, bring it. Ruth stiffened, her lips parted, then sealed again. She did not move. Slack barked. "Now, woman, fetch it." She turned, slow, walked to her stall, lifted the pan with both hands. It gleamed dull in the lantern, the rim broad, the weight heavy. Haydock took it, lowered it near the wound. The line of iron met the curve on the skin. It settled perfect. Silence spread. No one spoke. The fit was too neat, too true. Ruth's face drained pale. Her voice broke. "I did not strike him, I swear it. I cooked, I served. That pan never left the stall." Miles sneered. "Maybe your hands stayed clean, but someone else used it, someone you passed it to." Ruth's eyes widened. Her lips trembled. I never—" Slack raised his hand. "Quiet. The pan proves something. Whether guilt or trick, we will see. But this wound—" Haydock's voice cut through. "The wound's curve matched the pan's edge exactly." Sand spilled across the floor. Marple stepped inside the shed. Miles followed close. He lit the lantern. The smell sharp. Powder, charred wood. Empty crates leaned against the wall. Spent tubes scattered. Marple bent down. Her eyes scanned the dirt. She touched the grit. "Bonfire sand?" Miles shrugged. "We use it to steady the boxes. Stops sparks catching." Her hand moved across the ground. Something caught her fingers. A lump, sticky, hard. She lifted it. A shard, brown, glazed, edges rough. The center streaked red. She held it up. "Toffee?" Miles blinked. His jaw tightened. "Not mine. I don't deal in sweets. My work is fireworks." She rubbed the shard with her thumb. The red dust clung. "Chemical?" Miles shifted on his feet. He looked away. "It could be strontium, but it doesn't belong with sugar. That's not how it works." Marple's eyes narrowed. "You sound certain." Miles snapped. "Of course I'm certain. I know my trade. If someone mixed food with powder, they were careless, or worse." She slipped the shard closer to the lantern. The red grains shone faint, not wiped away, not faint enough to miss. She asked soft, "Who else entered this shed?" Miles rubbed his neck. "Crew. Once or twice, always checking, never trusting. And Ruth. She brought water once. I told her not to. Food near powder is danger." Marple's brows lifted. Yet food was here, burned into this shard, bound with dust. Miles swore low. "I don't mix sugar with strontium. I don't. Someone planted it." Marple folded her handkerchief, pressed the shard inside. Neat. Careful. Her fingers tied the knot. Miles raised his voice. "Why would Ruth bring toffee into my shed? Why would Crew? They knew the rules." Marple's tone calm. "Maybe rules were meant to be broken. Maybe someone wanted proof to vanish." He stepped back, his face pale. "You think I killed him with fireworks, with fire?" "I didn't." I swear Marple's gaze held him, her voice even. "I think lies burn quicker than wood." He bit his lip, said nothing more. She slipped the bundle into her pocket. Her eyes lingered on the floor. Sand, powder, shards, pieces waiting to speak. The lantern sputtered. Miles shifted his boots on the grit. The air tight. Words unsaid thickened the silence. Marple wrapped the shard in her handkerchief. The shed door creaked. Marple held her breath. Sergeant Lake crouched beside her. The lantern outside burned low. They had waited long, past 11, past 12. The village slept, the fields silent. Lake whispered, "You were right, she'll come." Marple nodded once, her eyes fixed on the shadows. Footsteps approached. Software hesitant. A figure slid into view. It was Ruth. She carried a sack, her head turned left, then right. She eased the latch. The door swung wide. Ruth stepped inside. Her hands shook. She dropped the sack on the bench. The sound dull, heavy. Lake leaned close to Marple. "What's in it?" Marple raised a finger. Wait. Ruth pulled the sack open. She reached inside. A clatter of metal. The iron pan's rim caught the light. She dragged it out, her breath quick. She pressed a rag to the rim, wiped, hard. Marple whispered low. Erasing the mark. Lake moved, but Marple gripped his sleeve. Not yet. Ruth shoved the pan back in. She reached deeper. Her hand closed around cloth. She pulled it out. Lake's eyes widened. A coat? Yes, crew's coat, stained at the cuff, sand still clinging. Ruth groaned. She stuffed it into the sack. She muttered low. They won't find it. They won't. Lake rose. Enough waiting. He stepped forward. Hold there. Ruth froze. Her head whipped around. Her face drained white. Marple stood behind him, her voice calm. You meant to burn them, out of sight, out of reach. Ruth's lips trembled. Her words stumbled. No, I was only cleaning. Just rubbish. Nothing more. Lake pointed to the sack. Rubbish? That's no rubbish. That's evidence. Ruth's shoulders sagged. She clutched the sack close. Her voice cracked. He forced me. Crew forced all of us. He took money. He kept secrets. I couldn't let it spread. Marple stepped closer, her tone firm. Hiding truth does not kill it. It only waits. And when it waits, it grows heavier. Ruth shook her head. Tears slid down. You don't understand. He said he'd ruin me. He said he'd tell. Lake's jaw tightened. Tell what? Ruth bit her lip. Her silence spoke more than words. Marple looked down. The sack gaped open. The pan, the coat. And then, something else. She reached in. Her fingers brushed stiff cloth. She drew it out. A bowler hat, smoke-stained, edges singed. Lady Bantry had spoken true. The guy had been switched. The hat had been hidden here. Marple lifted it slowly, her voice even. This was no accident. This was design. Ruth sobbed once. Her knees bent. She sank to the ground. Her hands covered her face. Lake stood silent, the shed cold, the air heavy. On the bench the hat lay, smoke-stained, undeniable. Her voice cracked. Ruth sat on the stool. Lake stood behind her. Marple waited in silence. Ruth pressed her hands together, her eyes hollow, her shoulders bent. I took it, she whispered. Money. From the charity fund, Lake's eyes narrowed. How much? Enough. Her lips trembled. Crew found out. He checked the books. He knew. She rubbed her palms. Her voice rushed now. He said he'd shame me. He'd tell everyone. He said I'd lose everything. Marple asked plain. What did you do, Ruth? Ruth swallowed hard. Her eyes darted toward the sack. The pan. I had it in my hands. He cornered me by the stack. He called me a thief. He raised his hand. I struck first. Lake leaned close. You hit him where? She lifted her own hand, pressed it against her temple. Here. He fell. He never rose. Her breath shook. I panicked. I dragged him toward the base. I thought it would look like accident, a slip, a fall. The bonfire would hide it. Lake folded his arms. You planned all that in a moment. Her head shook. Number I didn't plan. I acted. Then I hid. Marple's gaze sharpened. What did you hide? Ruth hesitated. Then she whispered. The papers. Crew carried them, his ledger notes. He wrote everything down. Who paid, who stole, who lied. He had me trapped. She opened the sack again, her hands trembling. From the bottom she pulled crumpled sheets. The ink blurred, but the numbers stood clear. I put them in the guy, inside the coat. I thought no one would see. When the fire burned, they'd vanish, no trace left. Lake muttered low. And yet the hat survived. Ruth shook her head hard. I didn't mean it. I only wanted escape. I only wanted quiet. I never meant for it to grow so large. Her voice cracked again. Her body sagged. Her eyes streamed. I am guilty. I confess. Arrest me. End it now." Lake pulled out his notebook. He looked grim. "This is enough to charge." But Marple stayed him with a hand, her eyes fixed on Ruth, her voice steady. "Your story is neat, too neat. You confess fully, yet you confess wrong." Ruth blinked, her lips parted. "What do you mean? I told the truth." Marple leaned closer, her words cut quiet. "You said he fell by the stack, yet sand clung to his sleeve, sand not near the stack, sand from the shed." Lake froze. Ruth stared back, pale. Her voice lost. "I don't understand." Marple's gaze never moved. "The wound, the place, the timing, it does not fit. Not all of it." Ruth's mouth opened, then shut. Her silence weighed heavy, but Marple's eyes stayed sharp. The story didn't fit. Marple dug through the ashes. The crowd had long gone. Only smoke threads rose thin. Lake stood close, boots gray. She pushed aside blackened wood. Her fingers touched cloth, half burned, crisp at the edges, but still a pocket. She lifted it gently. Ash flaked to the ground. The lining held fragments. Charcoal clung to the seams. Lake bent low. "What is it?" Marple held the scrap nearer. A corner of paper, blackened, curling, but not gone. She brushed it soft. Numbers showed faint. Curved hand. Familiar ink. "Cruise," she said, plain. Lake squinted. "Ledger?" "Yes, his hand." She traced the figures. £5, then 5 again, repeated, same date. Lake frowned. £5 from where? Marple answered steady. "The fund, always the fund." He marked each sum. Lake exhaled slow. "So, Ruth did not burn it all." Marple nodded once. "She told us she hid every page, but this survived. She lied." She turned the fabric. The seam blackened deep. Yet the numbers stood. Ink clung firm. Lake shook his head. "This should have burned. No paper lasts in such heat." Marple studied it long. Her voice dropped. "Unless it was shielded, pressed inside pocket lining, hidden close to cloth, protected by folds," Lake muttered. She knew it might stay. She hoped it would not be found. Marple's eyes stayed on the fragment. She took some sheets. Not all. Crew-guarded copies. He wrote more than she thought. He prepared Lake, clenched his jaw. So her confession was half, truth twisted with lies. Marple folded the piece inside her palm, her eyes distant. She feared shame, but shame was not all. Another hand touched this. Another reason kept these pages near. Lake's brow furrowed. "You think she was not alone?" Marple answered slow. "Yes. Another motive ran here. Someone else tied to the fund. Someone Ruth tried to shield. Or to blame." The air hung heavy. Lake tapped his notebook. "We can still charge her. The pan, the papers." The lie Marple's eyes narrowed. "Law seeks guilt, but truth seeks more. Guilt alone does not explain why a paper lived through flame." Lake looked uneasy. "So, what do we do now?" Marple slid the fragment into her sleeve, her face stern. "We wait. Lies unravel. This scrap will force it." Lake gave a short nod, but his gaze lingered on the embers. Darkness pressed the yard. Silence spread wide. Ruth's words still echoed, her tearful voice, her plea for a rest. But the fragment spoke louder. Marple closed her hand firm. The paper survived, when it should have burned. Ned touched the rope. His brow tightened. "This knot," he muttered. "Not Crew's hand." Marple looked close. The rope circled neat. A bowline, firm exact. The tuck perfect. Ned shook his head. "Crew was clumsy, always loose, always double-wrapped. This is sailor's work, quick, skilled." Lady Bantry leaned in, her voice sharp. "Then he did not tie it." Marple nodded. "He was not checking. He was brought." Ned pointed firm. "Naval bowline? Only one in this village ties like that." Slack stepped near. "Who?" Ned's eyes moved. Miles, years on the sea, only he knots this clean. The group fell silent. Miles flushed. I tied some ropes. For safety, Marple's gaze cut through. Yet you said Crew did it all. Miles stammered. He asked me. I only helped. Ned shook his head again. Not true. Crew never asked. He bragged he alone prepared the stack, wouldn't trust others. Marple's eyes narrowed. So you tied it? When he was gone? Miles glared at her. I kept it steady, that's all. You can't blame me for neat work. But Marple stayed calm. The knot tells more. Crew never touched it. He was lured to check what was already secured. Slack crossed his arms. Then why come at all? Marple turned to the crowd. He was summoned. A reason fed to him, a false worry, to pull him close to danger. Lady Bantry whispered. Then Ruth's story breaks. Marple's tone sharpened. She struck him. She claimed chance, but the rope says plan. It was staged. He was guided. He trusted the lie. Ned frowned deep. He trusted too much, always did. Slack scribbled notes, his voice flat. So then Ruth lies again. Marple let the words hang. Ruth's tale of panic, of sudden blow, shrank against the rope's truth. It was not sudden, it was arranged. Miles looked away, his jaw tight. Ruth stood pale, her lips trembling. Marple spoke soft, but firm. The rope cannot speak, but it remembers hands. Crew's hands were clumsy. These were not his. Ned touched the rope again. The fibers rough, the bowline steady. It told all. Lady Bantry exhaled slow. So Crew was not careless, Marple answered. He was careful, too careful. That is why he died, because someone needed him to look here, to bend here, to fall here. The air pressed heavy. Ruth shook her head, whispering no, but the rope said yes. The rope told the truth. Ruth's lie unraveled. The circle gathered, faces tense, eyes locked. Slack stood firm. Enough games. Truth now. Ruth shifted. Her hands clutched the apron. Her eyes flicked. At Miles. Miles spat. She dragged me in. Her greed ruined it. Ruth snapped back. You hated Crew. You wished him gone. Slack raised a hand. Quiet. Marple will speak. All eyes turned. Marple's voice. Calm. Step by step. She laid it. Crew found theft. He pressed her. Ruth struck him. The toffee pan left its mark. She dragged him to the stack. She staged his fall. Then she swapped. The guy, ledger pages, hidden in the bowler hat. Ruth shook her head. No proof. Marple lifted the fragment. Proof. Crew's writing. Burned pocket. He tried to shield it. The paper survived. Slack stared at Ruth. Answer that. Ruth's lips parted. No sound came. Marple pressed on. The schedule changed. Crew insisted. Why? Because Ruth pushed. She needed 15 minutes free, a false gap for her work. Miles tied the ropes, yes, but Crew never asked. He was lured. He bent where the knot was already set. Ned nodded. He'd never tie that. Never. Lady Bantry spoke low. And the rivalry? All smoke. Ruth blamed Miles. Miles blamed Ruth. But only one gained from Crew's silence. Miles bristled. I admit I tied knots, but I never killed. Marple faced him. True. You added confusion, but not murder. The pan's rim spoke. The red dust linked. Ruth alone held both pan and stall. Ruth's face drained pale. Her voice small. He cornered me. He threatened to tell. I lost my head. Marple's eyes stayed sharp. Number you planned. The rope proves it. The guy proves it. The ashes prove it. Each piece, small, together. They scream. Slack moved closer. Say it plain. Did you kill Crew? Ruth shook. Her apron crumpled in her fists. Tears welled. She said nothing. Lady Bantry whispered. Her silence tells more than her words. Marple gave a slow nod. Silence can be louder than lies, tonight. It deafens. Slack pulled the cuffs. Steel gleamed. The crowd watched. Ruth looked around. No ally left. Not Miles, not Ned, not even the whispering villagers. Slack bound her wrists. Her head fell low. Marple's gaze softened. She spoke to none, yet to all. Greed burns brighter than any flame, but it leaves only ash. The fire crackled in the distance, the festival broken, the village shaken. Ruth's silence was her answer. The ashes cooled, smoke thinned, the field lay bare. Ruth was taken away. Slack led her past the crowd, eyes turned, none friendly. Children clutched mothers, not a sound from them. Lady Bantry exhaled. Her hand pressed her coat. She spoke low. A friendship lost, a trust broken. No one replied. The weight, too heavy. Marple stood quiet. Her eyes followed Ruth. Her mind traced the steps, each lie, each crack in the mask, each truth pieced together. Ned rubbed his hands. I worked the ropes, but I swear I never knew. Miles muttered. She hated me. But I never wanted this. Their voices faded. The crowd drifted home. No songs, no cheer. Only heavy silence. Lady Bantry turned to Marple. Do you ever tire of this? The truth cuts deeper than the crime. Marple's voice, calm. The truth heals. But it leaves scars. They remain. Always. Dr. Haydock joined. She could have asked for help. Why strike him? Marple shook her head. Pride blinds. Greed tempts. Fear closes the last door. Haydock sighed. And so another life wasted. Marple looked at the children. They huddled close, their small faces pale. They would not forget. Lady Bantry whispered, the village will talk for years, but never as before. Marple agreed. Festivals light hope, but this one dims it. Trust once lost rarely returns. Miles stepped back. I'll quit the post. No one will want me here. Marple's gaze steady. Running hides little. Face them. Better scars than shadows. Silence followed. The fire had gone, but its mark stayed. The constable walked past. He held the hat, charred, smoke-stained, the symbol of deceit. He handed it to Slack. Slack carried it, without a word. Lady Bantry watched him, her lips tight, her voice faint. The hat burned, but not the memory. Marple touched her arm. Memories keep villages alive, even painful ones. The crowd had thinned, only a few left. They whispered of Ruth. They whispered of Crew, whispers that would not fade. Marple's thoughts turned inward. So many cases, so many faces, each carrying scars no cure could smooth. She closed her eyes a moment, then opened them again, calm, clear, steady. Lady Bantry glanced at her. You bear it well, Marple replied, soft. One does not bear it, one carries it, quietly. The last torch went dark. Night claimed the field. No fire, no warmth, only memory. Marple stood still, her eyes firm, her voice final. Even when the fire dies, secrets keep burning.